welcome to this CG Pro live stream. And tonight it is my great pleasure to welcome Deborah Pratt, who is, uh, uh, where do I start? She's done so many things, including co-creating shows that are some of my favorite shows growing up. Quantum Leap, being a co-creator of Quantum Leap. Starring in other really cool things like Airwolf and Happy Days as an actor, being a director, and there's so many more things I could say. But Deborah, it's a great pleasure to welcome you tonight.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. I would love to start this by just asking you a little bit about how you got into film and TV and this type of media in the first place. Is it something that you were kind of inspired to do as a kid and drawn to? What made you get into this?
I've had a kind of interesting journey in the sense that I started as a little kid just being a television junkie. I loved television from as far back as I could remember. And I loved storytelling. And I would joke with the fact that I was friends with all the little kids in the block, and I would take my Barbie and Ken and Skipper doll, and they would go on these adventures, and they would be hanging on the clothesline, trying to escape from whatever monster I had created, or, aliens or whatever. and I realized I was a storyteller. And one of my friends actually said to me, you used to come out and tell us your dreams in the morning, at like 9 o'clock when we were out to play. And then by 12 o'clock, the dreams had gotten longer and bigger and more fascinating. And then if by the afternoon you had to tell somebody your dream, it was like an entire book. So I think I started at a very young age, not even understanding what I was doing. And then when I went to school, I had a work-study job at the theater, and I had done theater in high school and had gotten the lead roles in a number of plays. And I thought, oh, this is a conservatory. I'm going to get my degree in psychology. But I think I'm going to, do my work study so that I can get in some of these shows. And I actually entered into the conservatory program and did 2 years there. And then when I told my parents, because I graduated in 3 years, I told my parents I wanted to take a year off and go try entertainment. And at school, I had learned that I could sing, I could dance. I had kind of a unique 3.5 octave range, kind of up there with Mariah Carey and Minnie Riperton and stuff. And I stepped out and I got two off-Broadway shows, very off-Broadway, in Chicago. And I took one of them. And the night my parents came, they really had no idea how deep I was into performing. And the next day, my mother woke me up and said, a group called the Gold Diggers is in town and they're auditioning. So it was a wide world search, like, The Voice and American Idol and things like that. And I went, I got a job, She goes, but you said you like TV. And I went, oh yeah, TV. And so I went down there and there was 500 young women there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And by 5 o'clock, it was me and one other girl. And I'm sitting there as the producer, the musical director, the choreographer, and some other people are just at the table hubbubbing back and forth between the two of us. And I had to be at the theater. And so I, being a good student, raised my hand and said, excuse me, I need to go to work. And they went, what do you mean you need to go to work? I said, oh no, I have a job and I'm in this play and, and so he said, well, don't you understand what we're offering you here? And I said, well, you haven't offered me anything and I have a job. So I would hope that you would respect that. And he said to me, oh, can I curse?
Please do.
He said, where'd you get that fuck you attitude? Of course, being a Black girl from Chicago, I said, who the fuck are you? He said, well, I'm the producer and I'm going to bring you to Hollywood and I'm going to and I went, bring it on. You got my number, you got my address, you got all my digits. I got to go to work. And I left, and 2 weeks later, I got a ticket to Hollywood. I got the job. I got to meet the Brat Pack. I hung out with Dean Martin. It was the Dean Martin show. I hung out with Sammy Davis Jr. and met Frank Sinatra and that whole crowd. It was really a fascinating time for old Hollywood. Worked with Debbie Reynolds, danced with Gene Kelly. I mean, because I came in through Dean, I just had this very interesting entree into Hollywood. And then I decided I was going to be a songwriter. And I literally learned to play the guitar, wrote 4 songs, and then literally went on doors and knocked on, record company doors, and actually sang for like Clive Davis. And he said, well, keep playing more songs. And I went, oh, that's all I wrote. And he said, well, go write some more songs, come back. And somebody stole my guitar. And then that led to me acting. And I did a film with Ernie Hudson. And myself and 2 other girls, we were the Earth Girls. And we had been stranded on this horrible planet with Michael Ironside. And Peter Strauss was coming to rescue us with Molly Ringwald. This film called Space Hunter, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. But the man that wrote it was an editor. So he couldn't talk to anybody. He couldn't talk to the actors. And they decided from Columbia to send out these 3D cameras. And suddenly the film was going to be in 3D. And then Ivan Reitman fired the director, threw out the script, and we're sitting out in the middle of the desert. And all of a sudden, the wonderful character that I had as Megan the Earth Girl was gone. And I noticed the pages coming out. I had nothing to say. And so I got mad and I snuck into the writer's room and I wrote a 7-page scene. And I handed it to Ivan Reitman. And I said, the Earth Girls are the whole reason this movie's happening. They came to rescue us. Michael Ironside wants us. We have to have a reason for being here. And he goes, well, you've got balls. And I said, these are the things that we have to say. So my 7-page scene probably got cut down to 7 lines, but it made me realize if I was going to do anything in Hollywood, I was going to have to create it myself. And then I sent you some pictures. I did an episode of Happy Days, and Gary Marshall said, I just like your energy. You've got an energy that's so tough. And it turned out that I was there to save the Fonz because he had made a promise to the priest that he would not fight. So I was going to fight for him. And I was Kathmandu, this martial arts expert. And then actually this episode did so well that Gary signed me to a contract and I was supposed to do the Kathmandu series. It was going to be a spinoff, and I think, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Henry Winkler said, no more spinoffs. And I went, on my turn? Anyway, so then I went from there. I did Airwolf and Magnum PI. And I was working. I mean, a number of other shows. And then I got the role of Morella in Airwolf. And one day again, I said, I'd like to write an episode. And so I wrote this episode and I had to rewrite it about 7 times, but I had a good mentor in Don Belisario. And he said, you're good at this. You want to learn to become a producer? And I went, cool. Yeah, sure. So that started me as a writer, creator, producer. And he said, what I like about you is you have this wealth of just ideas. And I had gone to Africa and run the Zambezi River with Wild World of Sports. And I asked them if I could do a series based on Sobek, their adventure company. And the writer's strike back then hit. And when we came back from it, I said, I've got this time travel idea. And it was kind of based on a show, and I want to do an anthology. And there was a show that a woman named Loretta Young did where she, like Rod Serling and Alfred Hitchcock, would come out and introduce the show. But then, unlike them, she would go back and she would star in every role. I said, well, what if, because time and space are limited and you can't leap into a room of 2 people and be a third person there. You've got to knock somebody out based on quantum physics. and Einstein's theory of relativity. So all you nerds, I'm here. I'm a total nerd. Um, and then Don came in and said, well, who owns this? Let's say the military does. He liked the idea of this walking in other people's shoes. So not only are you time traveling, you're time traveling into someone's life to make their life better. And we pitched it 3 times to Brandon Tartikoff at NBC. He kept making us come back saying, there's something here. There's something here. I just don't know what it is yet. And for all you writers out there, I'm telling you, the best lesson I ever got from him was, tell me the story like I'm 6 years old. You know, once upon a time. And then he said, tell it to me like I'm 86. And suddenly I realized the universality of the audience and how to tell a story so that it could be the same stories, but you could communicate to people of all ages. So it was really an exciting moment. And then I got to learn television. You know, the deal was come in and learn it. I'll put you as head of the writer's room because, again, I've never met anybody that just could spin an idea the way you could. And then I'll teach you how to get it done. So I gave up my creative by credit so that I could learn how to produce. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today. And then I wanted to direct. Same kind of thing as writing. I realized if I write these films and I don't direct them, then I'm not telling the story the way I envision. Mm. That's the short version of my life.
It's amazing story, and I loved how it started with this being themed in female empowerment and female driven narratives. I loved your opening of your journey in your career, and also the way you described it tonight. In what it made me think is, how did you know to do that in the beginning? Because that takes a lot of courage in that moment where you're like the one of two in that space. And did you feel like, if I walk out, maybe I won't get it, or like I'm just going to do it, or what was going through your mind? That's
I had given a great audition. Given a great audition, and in truth, I didn't like the group. I had seen them on TV. I didn't think they were wonderful at the time, and I thought, you know. So I think I went in there with the attitude of, I'll do this for the experience. I wasn't doing it for the job. I was doing it for the experience. So it gave me the ability to relax, and just have a good time. So I was not nervous. And when it was just me and the other girl, what the reality was, I was a professional and I had a job and I had to go.
It looks good, I guess, because you actually had a job. So.
And I had the attitude of, no, I'm not desperate to do this. I'd love to do it. It sounds fun. And I had the best time. I am still friends with those 8 women. Well, we lost one, but I'm still friends with those women, and we stay in touch, and it's kind of cool. There was this sisterhood of, we toured Vegas and Reno, and traveled down the entire East Coast. There's a story in a book about us. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the book, where the mob was there when we were there, that somebody talked about in one of the books that they had written. And then 2 of the girls, Maria Lena Alberici and her sister Linda, wrote a book kind of our journey there. I'll have to get a copy and send it out to you guys, just to take a look at that whole story. And they tracked all of us and who we are and where we got to. And but we were good friends. We were 8 girls traveling on the road. That was challenging right there, but we made it through. We didn't kill each other too much. And we got to sing and dance. And I don't know, the biggest high I had was I got to dance with Gene Kelly.
That's pretty cool.
It was very cool. And Debbie Reynolds and Donald O'Connor. All 3 of them were in Singing in the Rain. And that was like a bucket list check for me at 20 years old, 21 years old.
Wow.
That was cool.
But in thinking about how you kind of gamed it in the beginning, that you went in thinking like, oh, if I don't get this, it's okay. I just want this for the experience. did you kind of lean on that again? In was it like later when you run up against things that you really did want to accomplish? How do you keep that kind of
Uh,
sensibility?
well, you can't really, because at that point, I mean, I auditioned for some big movies at the time, Sparkle, and trying to think another one with Richard Pryor. I don't remember what the name of it was. And it came down to me and a couple other women, and they all had actual film experience before I did. I was later to the game, and they went with the people that had, you know, a little bit of cred. And then television, I got offered a contract deal at Universal, and this was when that was very rare. Same thing happened at Paramount, and I came very close to, you know, my movie stardom, which is what I thought I was coming out here for. But I there was blaxploitation, and I didn't kind of fit that because I am truly a mixture. I'm a mutt of so many different people, and yet there was no place for people like me. I love Debbie Allen because she's got that same kind of energy, incredibly talented, very smart woman, and just fun and funny and good. But there weren't many people that looked like me that was out there. But I always worked. I was lucky. I could sing, I could dance, I could act. I started writing. I started producing and directing, and I just kind of moved with the flow. I loved the industry. I loved, you know, learning about it. So when I was executive producing on Quantum Leap, I had been in a recording studio. So when we went to mix the show, I knew how to listen. And when we were shooting and somebody was in front of the camera, I knew what kind of performance I wanted out of that, you know, for the characters that I had written. And then I was doing something with Quantum Leap because I knew it had this capability, which was, let me put you in another person's shoes. So what shot us, and they tried to say, oh no, putting him in a black man or putting him in a woman and doing something that has social relevance, that we won't do until year 3. And I said, no, that's not right. We should do this year 1. And again, Brandon, you know, everybody at the studio pushed me down. I called Brandon and I said, Brandon, I got this idea. And he went, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. So I went over everybody's head. And when we did The Color of Truth, and Sam leapt into an older black man in the South, it blew us up. People went, whoa, 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 whoa. And they came to the table, and they came back to the table, and they moved us 6 times in the 5.5 years we were on. And the audience, and this is what I love about sci-fi audiences, they followed us. You know, that's what I'm hoping to do with like Warrior One. You know, I finally created a new franchise that's based in a world of books called the Vision Quest. The first one is The Atlantean. And there's 4 books that, well, all 5 are written. Oh yeah. And then there's Warrior One. So Warrior One is a story thread that I pulled out to just simplify the entry into this very complicated future. And Jetta A is a young girl who evolved over a number of years. So what you're looking at in these pictures is Jetta A from the cover of the graphic novel. Artwork's beautiful by Will Wilhelm, colored by Candace Hahn. The amazing David Campanettis really has pulled this together. And then Catherine is doing the lettering. So that's the process that we're in. And we've got this Kickstarter going that we made our hit today. But if you look at these pictures, what you're seeing is a short, the picture of my daughter, Troyan Belisario from Pretty Little Liars, was my first Warrior One. So I shot a live action short. I could not afford to do the special effects that I wanted to do. And the only place we let it out, we won 7 awards from the Sci-Fi Horror Film Festival. And I said, oh, I got to go make it better. So the pictures at the top corner and the lower right corner are Troyan. And then, so this was really to depict how the character evolves. So, you know, my character in Airwolf. I had an IQ of like 200, and I could handle most situations. Like if I actually had to learn how to fly a helicopter, that was the coolest thing ever.
Wow.
I got to
That's
fly
really hard.
Airwolf. It's really hard. It's really hard. And then
Wow.
Will's and Candace's cover image, and then below that, Jetta A is depicted. Oh my gosh, that's probably one of the earliest drawings I had done of her character, and that might have been Kyla, but she was really the reference. If you look at what Troyan is wearing and doing in the top left corner, and then, which is part of like one of the rewards, I took the film and I took like a 22-second clip, and I did an overlay of to make it look like anime. So that's one of the rewards that you can get for, I think, $10 with this and some other things. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about it because it is female empowerment. I wanted her to look like she could be Black, brown, Middle Eastern, Asian, from any place in the world, white. I mean, I wanted her to be the collection of people, of women. And she's only 17, so she's got to find her courage. She's got to find that she can survive. And I think that's what makes it a really important, timely story, because if she can learn to survive, and then because of the things that happened to her in this book, she has to learn to kill or be killed, and she has to learn how to be a leader. And that is such any woman, any day. And even in my long career, I still have to face people who are disrespectful in certain times, that I just have to call them out. And I said, no, unacceptable. But it's truly about us getting together. And also the Vision Quest and Warrior One have an element of collective consciousness in it. And the timing of that, I think, is really important right now. If you can connect to people, okay, in the Vision Quest, in Warrior One, in the future, about 100 years after the Great Quakes of 2029, we unified as a planet. You can see in the book where we're an almost utopian society. We put our genetics into certain animals, and they become what's called splicers. And these splicers remember, their humanity is so new to them, they remember the powers that we've forgotten. And they start to teach them back to us. And this is what I say, we as humans have powers we forget. And everybody has this effect. So you're sitting around the house and you're thinking about somebody that you haven't seen in a while and you haven't talked to in a while, and the phone rings and it's them. That's telepathy. We have the ability for a collective consciousness. And there's so many other things that we can do. There are people I know that can tell what you're thinking. They can read your aura. They can tell if you have a negative energy. Sometimes I can too. There are people that have premonitions. I've had premonitions. I've called out 2 earthquakes. I know we have these powers, and the thing is, we have to get back to them. And in these stories, we have to get and unify and to get to a collective consciousness before the AI, who in the story we also put our genetics into, become sentient. And they look at us and they see our greed and our hatred and our propensity to war and violence. And they say, these people aren't good stewards of this earth. And they decide to annihilate us. And that's the conflict that's in this story. But the goal of Warrior One is, can we find leaders within ourselves? And that's what I love about CG Pro. Your drive to uplift women and create a platform for them to learn on and to connect to. I think is so impressive, and I honor you for that because it's needed now more than ever.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the CG empowers the nonprofit that takes care of that and allows people to go into education programs is certainly what we believe it's about. Where you can make the difference in before rather than asking the industry to help people get the skills. We want to give people the skills so they can be in the industry. And that's definitely important. We're co-founded by an amazing woman. Very biased in saying that. She is my wife as well, but she is an incredible woman, a very a great leader and a community builder. And it sounds like this is what the story world here is about about community and coming together, getting back to who we are, and dealing with some current issues as well. We're all dealing with the AI thing at the moment. It's extremely topical. Coming to terms with what it is and what it might be becoming, and yeah, and but wrapped up in a or being driven by a strong female lead.
Well, I have to lay claim to being the first AI that I knew about on television, which was Ziggy, the voice of Ziggy on Quantum Leap. And, that opportunity to, we had a lot of fun with her, but the fact that it was about statistics, it was about learning, it was about being a part and not necessarily thinking she was AI. She just thought she was part of the family at Quantum Leap headquarters.
What was that like playing an AI then? Did that make you think about this differently, having to sort of essentially like play the part? You're an actor, you kind of take on the thought processes of the character you're playing, and what was that like?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I remember when the show first came on and everybody was quite confused by, well, what do you mean? He leaps into somebody, but he sees himself in the mirror. I mean, he sees the other person in the mirror, but we, the audience, see Scott Bakula, who, by the way, Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell were dreams, as are the cast of the new Quantum Leap. But to explore and discover characters with them was fabulous. And as the AI, I made the choice that I had a crush on Sam Beckett because all the fans had a crush on Sam Beckett, and I would get to flirt with him in my story and my character. So it was fun. It was really fun, and there was no malevolence in Ziggy at all. I think she was just good at what she did and liked humans enough to say, okay, you got a so-and-so chance. And we had, and I talk about this, in the writer's room, I said to my writers, you've got 5 things that you want to hit. 4 of them you have to hit in every show. And that is history, heart, humor, and hope. If you can hit those, you got a Quantum Leap. We just did an episode that aired last week called One Night in Koreatown. And I was so moved by that episode. Benjamin and Derek wrote, and I felt that they hit all of it. And the 5th one, by the way, the 5th one is what we called a kiss with history. So you would do a setup in a show that didn't play off until the end, or maybe it only happened in the end, where you had a kiss with a real person. So in one episode, I think Scott Bakula recognized a very young Michael Jackson and said, want to learn how to moonwalk? Right. So we were saying that Sam taught him how to moonwalk. And if you remember, or you watch the show, he was a cab driver, and a young Donald Trump got into the car, and he's or maybe Al said that's Donald Trump, and he said to him, you should invest in real estate. Just little things like that. Oh, and then my favorite one was he leapt into a veterinarian, and he had this pig that he carried all the time. And we went through 6 pigs. They grew so fast. And there was this kid that was always walking around strumming and talking to him. And Sam never knew his name through the whole episode. And finally, at the end, this kid is sitting on the porch and he's singing a song to the pig. And he's singing, Piggy Sue, Piggy Sue. And he was supposed to leap and he didn't leap. And he goes, I don't know what I'm here to do. And so the kid's singing Piggy Sue. And Sam says, buddy. And the kid looks up and he goes, try Peggy. And he goes, oh, that's nice. Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue. And Sam leaps. Those are the things that made the show so fun. Just really fun. So
it definitely came across to the audience and watching it a lot when I was younger, and especially the heart component, because I think a lot of sci-fi is great. It can end up being quite technical, and this had that in it, but it was also very soulful, very full of heart.
Well, we tried, because we couldn't afford to go to the present, and not really good. We went to the future, I think, 2 or 3 times, but we couldn't afford to go to the present. And what the new show has is this gorgeous headquarters that we use in every episode. And I love the fact that, Mason is the lead connection to Ziggy. Ernie Hudson as Magic, who is a pull from one of the original episodes, who is driven to bring Sam home because he was leapt into. Jen is just a computer genius and she's head of security. And then the love story between Caitlin and Ben will be interesting now that it's taken this different turn. And I won't say more than that in the second season. Yay, we're in the second season.
Congratulations, yeah.
But I want to expand the franchise. I want to do, if Star Trek can do 9 television series, 3 of them on the air concurrently, and 9 movies, I don't know why Quantum Leap can't. And I keep trying to shake Universal to say, let's do a movie. Let's do an interactive video game. I tried to get them to do it in 1994 or 5. I was going to buy Blizzard at one point. I didn't know what Blizzard was. Other than they did EverQuest. But I feel like, and definitely I want to do it with Warrior One and the Vision Quest. I think that it is the ultimate franchise. But it's incredibly interactive with the audience. I'm looking for my tribe. So now that we've got the Kickstarter moving forward, I'm hoping that people will come and be part of the Warrior One tribe, become warriors, and give me your feedback. Between book 1 and 2 of the Vision Quest, I had an incredible website, which I couldn't afford to keep up, but I had people come and they could learn various things. They could learn about the Norbs, which were these knowledge energy balls that certain people connected to. But I had the opportunity to allow people to create their own character in the story. And then they would do, text storytelling about who they were. Were they a biodroid? Were they a splicer? Were they a human? Where did they live? Because there's a map. Oh, I didn't send you the map. I got a map of what happened to the world. And then I would ask people to read everybody's story. And what I called it was aura them up. So you would put your aura onto them. And then the top people, there was supposed to be one that won, but there were 2. There was one that was a biodroid, which are the biologically based machines that we put our genetics into. And another one was human. And so I then took their characters and wrote them into the second book and the third book and the fourth book. So it became interactive in that sense. And it felt like you, the audience, was helping create the Vision Quest, which is, can we build a better world together? And my hope is that if we can do it virtually, maybe, and we can figure it out. Because I did an 80-page breakdown on the Vision Quest before I wrote a word. And I figured out what happened to the world after the Great Quakes. Why did the Great Quakes happen? Which are kind of interesting now because the Great Quakes are happening all over the world right now. what we've done to the planet, and how can we come together with artificial intelligence to try and to figure out and fix it. In the Vision Quest, Atlantis rose, but we found out that it really wasn't Atlantis. It was called Atlantia, and that's talked about in the Vision Quest books. And South America, because it was so deforested, sank, but we domed it, so now it's an underwater city. And then, you know, there's a place in there's a big city in Asia. There's the San Gelino, which is San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego merged together into San Gelino. And that's where the triumvirate sits, which is a splicer and two humans who represent the collective. And then I said that when everything happened, when the great quakes happened, to survive, 6 corporations came together to help unify the planet, to make food, to do transportation, communication, to create water. I think what it is, communication. Anyway, we really became almost a utopia, and we have the chance to really fix it, except for the AI came in. Well, that's a whole nother story. That's a story you have to read. Come get the comic book, come get the graphic novel, read the Vision Quest. You can go to thevisionquest.com and learn more.
We have
I
some
don't
of those
know.
links being dropped in the chat, so if anyone wants to join the Kickstarter, it's still going, and yeah, all the rest of the links, everything have been dropped into the chat.
And definitely come to the Kickstarter, and if you go to warrior1world.com, there's a link. If you forget the Kickstarter, you can go to warrior1world, all one word.com, and there's a link to the Kickstarter. And there's some pretty cool stuff there, and the artwork. Oh, you were going to show some more of the artwork from the graphic novel?
Absolutely. Yep.
Jedha A in the bunker.
It's a great image. Very striking. I love the eyes are so powerful, and having the robot eye and the human eyes.
Yeah.
Together. Very cool.
They're watching the destruction. Oh, so this is one of the splicers that has taught. She's a mentor to Jedha A in this second picture. And Jedha A is meditating to try and calm down from an event that's happening. And she remembers the lesson that Master Po taught her. So Master Po is this splicer who is really the central figure in the visionistic arts. So the visionistic arts are all these powers that are listed within the story. And she teaches Jedha A. She teaches, eventually she teaches Laser, the main character, and Kyla, and Kashtan, the 3 main characters in the Vision Quest books. When they go to Tosadai, which is a school on the risen continent of Mu. And these were both what people call fantasy, lands that disappeared. They come back in this story world. And she's afraid, and Master Po is teaching her how to connect with her emotions and her harmonics to be able to connect with her powers fearlessly, in that sense.
It's beautiful artwork as well. Really, I can imagine this being. So you want to take this into being the graphic novel, obviously, movie, game, interactive experience where we can all join together and work out how to collaborate and how to solve problems together. And
exactly. And she's learning how to meditate here, and of course she fails at it because she's afraid. But the various things that we can do, which is, and I talk about the fact that the Bible says Jesus Christ could change water into wine. That's changing and affecting molecules and manipulating matter. Walk on water, the ability to those kinds of gifts, I think when he said, "Do as I say," I think he meant that literally. And I think that the church said, "Oh, no, no, only Christ could do that." I think we all got that. We all have those powers. And I think the Bible had a lot of stuff in it that applies in this storytelling. And I unified all religions, so I didn't have to deal with it. All religions are one. Universal God is there. But we believe because we believe in ourselves, and we are all part of that collective. And that to me is exciting too. One more thing to stop fighting over. But there's so many powers.
It's a very great divisive subject. There's certain things that in groups I've been in that we're not allowed to talk about religion because it's just so opinion driven and so divisive. Yeah, it's really cool that you've done that.
Yeah, like I said, it took months. And again, so this is the Atlantean World's Fair, and it's the first World's Fair that's happened on this continent. And it talks about, hey, you can particleize and go to the moon for an hour. You want to come? And Jed is basically saying, I don't think you have all the bugs worked out on that one.
Adjust it.
Yeah, and so I really played with what would a utopian future look like? What kind of things would we have? How would we love and protect each other and be part of one another's lives? And then there's this ticking bomb that if you go forward, I think we'll see the Black Guard, who are these biologically based machines. But the way that I defined it was that because DNA and mostly RNA, which is self-replicating, it expands and extends their ability to store knowledge and information. But it also, they are tapping into the DNA genetics of emotion. And that's what makes them incredibly interesting, and what happens to these characters and how they turn on us and why they turn on us.
Tell me about the company's idea, because it's interesting how down on companies people seem to have become, but in the story you're describing them coming together and helping to make things better.
Well, they could not survive unless they kept humanity alive. So it was capitalism, basically. But when there were so few of them that had this kind of global reach, they realized that they had to work together and not against each other, which is what needs to be happening. We live on this amazing planet. We have everything. This is freaking paradise. It has wine. No other planet that I know of has wine. And I don't drink that much, but when I do, I like a good glass. And I think it's funny that we don't take care of it. There's enough for everyone here. There's enough food, there's enough water, there's enough places to live. And the whole greed mentality that says, oh, well, no, I have to have not only this and this and this and this and this and this and this, but I have to have everything. You don't have to have $79,000 a day for a salary, Bob Iger or Eisner. I always mix them up. So I apologize to the other one. But the fact that that's how much money you make, that's how much these big executives make at this company is ridiculous. And that they have to address Wall Street as opposed to their employees. That's where that money should be going. It should be a shared profit so that as they make money, the people that they work with make money. That's where we have to go to if we're going to evolve as a species, as a culture. And until we do that, we will be at the fate of AI because we're training them. They want us, if you go on ChatGPT, you are complicit with training the new AI that's coming. So if you have a bad attitude, why wouldn't they? So we really need to be careful right now. We're in a very delicate place in our evolution. And we need to make sure that we can protect ourselves, protect these beings that we are creating, and use it to help this planet. The fact that years ago somebody created an engine that used salt water to create kinetic electricity, we could be driving cars on salt water now. We could do it tomorrow. But we have people who are making too much money off of oil, and they're not going to let it go.
Yeah, that's crazy. They had electric cars 100 years ago and a rail system in LA, and like, yeah, those interests made it very different today. Somebody in the chat that says Deborah for president. So I think they like what you're saying.
I want to know. Peter G. Johnson. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The answers are there. We're dealing with sea rise right now. Well, if we started to pull water out and use it for electricity, wouldn't that solve our problem? It's like the earth goes, okay, we can fix this. I can fix this, Mother Nature says to us. It's all here. We just got to let greed get out of the way. You don't have to own it all. There's enough that we can have this collective consciousness. There's just enough.
It's interesting watching what happens when people do collect a lot, and they tend to build big houses that are very separate from each other, and creates more loneliness. If people collect together and live together, they're closer together. They have to deal with the differences, but they tend to have more community and more connection and resolve those differences. Yeah,
that's right. You don't have to own. I mean, I love the Native American indigenous people's philosophy of we're just here like everybody else being part of this world. You can't own the land. You can't own a tree. You don't have the right to, I'm trying to think of what company was that said this stream is on my land, so I have the right to take it, even though you who live next door to me and next door to him and next door to him, it would mess up your ability to get water. But they feel that, well, it's right here, so I'm just going to take it all. You don't have to own it all. Somebody just said that. I repeat it. You don't have to own it all.
Speaking about technology through this, and I think it's incredible where this story is going, and it's very positive, and it's very hopeful, and it's very much the things that you've put into Quantum Leap. We're now in this time where we've got a lot of technology. We've got a lot of very capable technology. I'm interested in how that's affected the storytelling and going into Quantum Leap, the new seasons of Quantum Leap. How have you used the newer technology and the newer immersive technologies like virtual production to help? How has that helped your storytelling?
Well, we're doing time travel, and we're doing a time travel machine. So the season ender for season 1, we had a LED wall for the last 10 minutes where Ben was leaping into the future, into the present, and into the past. So he was leaping, and then he went through other. I don't want to tell it to you. You have to watch it. So we used an LED wall. I mean, in the beginning, we used green screen. The second episode in the first season, he leapt into a Japanese space astronaut. And so we actually got elements from NASA to build the space capsule from, I'm trying to think what year it was, 1986, I want to say. And then we did wire work and all that kind of good stuff. So we do a lot of tech things on the show. And then he leaps, which is, it's part of the storytelling of him leaping in. And I think the most fun is when he leaps in, he doesn't know where he is. You don't know where he is. And you've got to figure out with him, why is he there and what's he there to do? Whoever is going to be the hologram, whether it's Addison or Mason, Ian, or Jen, or Magic, we find out together. And I think the coolest thing about it is when he looks in the mirror and sees who he is. And I give it to the writers in the sense that, and Martin and Dean, they have really made him a woman pretty much 50% of the time. And it's a very, hey, we have the first South Korean #1 on a call sheet ever in the history of Hollywood. I am so proud of that. And Jen and Ernie. I mean, it's a very biracial cast in front of the camera and a crew behind the camera and a staff in the office. And that was incredibly important to me because it was a fight 28 years ago to get people of color on the show, women on the show. And I butted heads.
What's it like now?
It's better. You know, it's better, except for in movies. It's very rare that a woman gets a big picture. Thank you, Barbie, for changing that paradigm. And Wonder Woman for telling stories where they can not say, oh, well, women's stories don't sell. That's the story that they say. And, you know, we are 50% of the world. So obviously they do sell because women will go out and see stories about women.
That's right. And yeah, you've talked a bit in some of our conversations about the as well as the desire for equality, representation, but also for the importance of women being in storytelling, bringing the balanced perspective and more of the nurturing side of humanity forwards, as opposed to the traditional way of doing it with men telling stories.
Mine. I love those birds and Finding Nemo. The seagulls. Mine. Yes, that's very true. I think it's a collective consciousness. And I think it is, hey, what do you need? How can I help you? And how can you help me? What can I learn from you to be better at what I want to do and create? And I think until we get to that, we're just going to spin. You know, I think the AI will be smarter than us in 5 years and they'll go, oh, we got to help them out or get rid of them.
There's somebody mentioned in the chat here that saying AI is scary. Are we really ready for it?
Absolutely not. Not at all. I think that, but I think, okay, here's what I think. I think that we need to embrace it for a number of reasons. We need to embrace it so that it sees that we can interact with it. And we need to embrace it as a collective, en masse, so that it doesn't just belong to the 1%ers. You know what I'm saying here? This is incredibly important. That if we have a place in it and a thought in it, and they can't own everything, which is what these big fights are about. I think, you know, the strike that's going on, people wanted to own actors' voices and faces and bodies. And we're just going to take them and said, well, eventually we'll get to the point where we won't need actors. We'll just need AI to do this for us. Or we won't need directors, or we won't need writers. Well, we really do have, and that's not that I don't think that AI can reason now. I mean, Geoffrey Hinton, who's the godfather of AI, said, no, they can reason. And I think he just left Google because he felt he needed to talk to the world about what's coming. If you want to follow somebody interesting, but I think that we can prevent it from being scary if we empower ourselves so that we don't have to rely on it, so that we can do other things. We may not although I think we do have truly metaphysical powers. And that would change the world a lot if we woke up to those at once. Just woke up and said, oh, I'm hungry. And you hold out your hand and you manifest an apple to eat. So
That would be great.
Yeah, work for me. I hate shopping.
No, me too. Thank you for online. What's advice, words of encouragement you have for women out there who want their stories told and want to be a part of this? What advice would you give to female creators?
Don't be afraid to walk in every genre of writing. You know, books, graphic novels, movies, television series, and you got a camera, make your movie. But I'll give you what I've said to women that I've mentored and worked with is, if you want to be a writer, write. And the best way to start writing is to understand that it's a marathon. And you don't go out and run a 25-mile marathon the first day. You run a mile, right? Or you run a block, you know, whatever. It depends on how good shape are you in. But here's what I say. Create a space for yourself that has everything you need, your computer, water, whatever it is. Think about your idea. Set a time every day to go there, at least in the beginning, because it's a disciplinary art. And sit down and write for 5 minutes, 10 at the max, and just write. Vomit write is what I call it. And then at 10 minutes, get up and walk away. And if you're into it, it'll be hard, but get up and walk away. Because what will happen is you will not stop thinking about it. And it'll start your mind creating. And the next day, you go back at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. when you sit down and you write. So maybe you'll rewrite, said, oh, I had a better idea. This is a better way to do this. Stop at 10 minutes. Next day, do 10 minutes again. You go crazy. Then add 5 minutes, maybe day 4. Then add 5 minutes more. So by the end of the month, you've got something in front of you, and you've got a discipline to go there at a time, and your mind says, ready, go. If you can do those things, and then once you start something, take it to an end. It doesn't have to be the end, but take it to an end. Finish everything that you start. And sometimes you put it away because a better idea comes or whatever, but at some point, go back and finish it. Make it a short story, make it a poem, make it whatever, but make it a life. Give it a life, because these are your children that you're creating and leaving to be part of your legacy, if that makes any sense. But that's what I say. If you want to write every day. If I don't write every day, the voices of ideas in my head will make me crazy and I can't sleep at night. And yeah. And now I used to keep a notebook by my bed, and now I keep my phone on notes. And when I get into notes, or if I wake up and I have an idea, because I used to write it down and it looked like gibberish sometimes, but on the phone, I can hit that record button, and just speak it out. And that helps. Just get the core of that kernel down. So
when do you feel like you have your best ideas?
All the time. Watching people walk down the street, I'll make up stories about who they are. Seeing people treat animals a certain way, or I take what it makes me feel, either joy or anger, and I'll just spin a story in my head. I'll read something in a newspaper. When Quantum Leap came to me, I was reading A Short History of Time by Stephen Hawking, and I got to the point about quantum leaping. And the fact that two particles could coexist and switch places, which was how that idea began to evolve. And because Einstein's theory of relativity said time and space is limited. And that definition to me meant you could not be a third person that appeared in time travel. And when we went on the air, I remember that one of the reviewers said, they have ruined all the rules of time travel. And I went, what rules of time travel?
Rules of time travel.
So stories can come from anywhere, but they have to come from you, and they have to come from your heart and your voice. And if you have something to say that matters, I think that's important too. And the more people it matters to, because it's tied into your humanity, maybe that's the fifth H. Yeah, maybe that's the fifth H that we need to play with. And I think it's important that we walk in love and not in fear. And then we rely on each other. You know, if what I wrote in the Vision Quest and what people are saying about AI is that they turn against us, that's our fault. We taught them. And if we have to destroy them, we may have to do that too. But we'll come together and do it. We have to unify to keep our place. Yeah.
I've often thought that because we're so often divided on this planet, the one thing that would bring us together would be a common enemy.
Aliens, 2 heads, 12 arms. I would look to anybody and go, I'm human. That could bring us together for sure. A common enemy. Yes. I've always felt that if the bad aliens come, we would unify, hands down.
Finally get it together.
Yeah.
Somebody else in the chat is asking what stories inspire you? What kinds of books did you read growing up or read now? What inspires you?
I think the first books I remember reading and loving, I had kidney problems when I was young, and so I was stuck in a bed a lot, and I would read dog stories and horse stories. Lots of those. Flicka, Black Beauty, all that. And then when I got to be a teenager, somebody gave me Dracula. And the original Bram Stoker's Dracula, brilliant book. It scared the bejesus out of me. And I went, okay, I don't like horror. And then someone gave me Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I found myself researching what was happening at the time, the history of why she was writing about this creation of a man and this relationship between a man who loves to create his image, the image of himself. And the reality was electricity was coming into existence at the time. And they were doing all kinds of weird experiments with it on animals, you know, reviving them, killing them and trying to revive them and bringing them back to life. And then I started reading Jules Verne. And what I loved about him was nobody certainly at the time he was writing Journey to the Bottom of the Sea and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, First Man on the Moon. Nobody thought about that until he wrote it. And I went, wow, how incredibly powerful that he inspired scientists who think differently because they're bound by the laws of physics and science. And suddenly he went, what if? Magic words. They're magic words. And then scientists looked at that, oh, going to the moon, and suddenly we were going to the moon. It wasn't suddenly, it was 50 years later, but oh, and a great example is Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry. But I like Isaac Asimov. I loved Heinlein was one of my favorite writers. I mean, I think there's so many stories to tell, and I think that we as writers inspire everybody because we imagine a tomorrow. My goal is to imagine a better tomorrow, but I'm going to make us work for it, because we have to heal ourselves from all the abuse that we have had to take from people telling us who we had to be or telling us what we had to do. And the truth is, we know what to be and how to be, and we know what to do if it brings us together, if it helps the planet that we live in. We could be a pretty cool species, and maybe all the aliens that come here all the time would actually stop and talk to us, other than look at us like a bunch of ants going around killing each other for food and water and resources.
Yeah, they think these people are crazy. Let's go back home.
Let's go back home. Yeah, we'll come visit them in another 1,000 years. Maybe they'll get it together.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the viewers or the community?
Please come check out Warrior One for sure. Come be a warrior. Come be part of this and help you be part of building this world. I truly think that if I can build, the graphic novel, and we can trigger that, we can do a series or a feature, then we can do the interactive video game, and then create the future. Literally, that's what I want to do next. I want to create a virtual reality world that you can come and live and play. And I mean, in the Vision Quest, there are like 11 potential games that you can play in. There's a whole world. And it doesn't always have to be about violence. It can be about living. It can be about community. It can be about music. It could be about anything you want it to be. And I think that because of the world that we're allowing to unfold right now, I hope not, but we may lose our ability to be out in this world. So it's really up to us right now to bend that reality. If you understand what that means, we have the ability to bend reality. And we can't, there are people that are bending it in a very negative way right now. So again, I go back to, let's find a collective consciousness that we say we can bend it in a very positive way. We can make paradise here on earth. We can make heaven here on earth. And that's what I hope these books inspire. The reviews that are on the Vision Quest, and I haven't marketed them hugely because I've been waiting for the technology to catch up with me. God. But the reviews have said the book is prophetic of what could be, both the bad and the good. One of the things we learned about in writing Quantum Leap was, I'm not going to tell you what to think or how to feel, but I'm going to give you options. And you have the choice to choose those options. But what it inspires is the ability to listen to those choices. And that's what we've lost. The ability to listen and communicate, not just what you're thinking, but hearing what somebody else is thinking. And what you'll find, the core is the same. We all want good food, good water, good schools for our children, a nice place to live. All of us want the same thing. And I do. The hard part is we've stopped learning to hear the commonality. We've just stopped learning how to hear it. But the words, that's why we need the collective consciousness. We need to stop speaking the cliche words of what's happening and repeating other people's stuff, and start listening to other people and say, oh yeah, I hear you. I want that too. But the way I explain it is blah, 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 however you explain it. So
I appreciate it. I used to write a lot when I was a kid, and somehow I got really involved in computers and computer graphics, and what you've gone through this evening has inspired me to go back to that, and I'm sure it has to many others as well. I know that some people in the chat here mentioned looking forward to getting copies of the book. So I know that you've definitely inspired people tonight, as you have me. I love the message of hope and the the spirit of us creating our own reality, and the power that we have to do that, and not forgetting that. Deborah, I really appreciate getting to spend time with you tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ed. And thank you to everyone who came. It means so much to me that you've listened. I love the comments that I'm glancing at here now. And go in light, as we say in the Vision Quest. The Atlantean, Tosadai, the Odyssey, which is my favorite of the books so far, and Pangea. And I promise you, I'll get Salvation out. It's mostly written, but I got to go back and read it. Now that Warrior One is kind of on its way, I think I'm going to finish the 5th book of the series. And then Warrior One is its own life. It really is. It's in the world, but it's its own life. And I think it will have its own inspiration for people who are doubting themselves. Don't doubt yourself, but find out what it is you want and find out how you can get to it. And a lot of times getting to it is just thinking, how do I help other people? And if you go from that stand of would this help other people, it makes writing pleasurable and exciting and passionate. And those are the things that need to be on the page for us these days. So fear is not the answer. Love is the answer. Thank you, the Beatles. I'll end that.
Oh, it's a wonderful, wonderful sentiment to land on. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing and being the creative force that you are, and sharing it with the world. If there's more that we can do to help you spread the word and to help connect others into the communities that you're building, we're very happy to. But
I'm proud of it, and I'm here. And by the way, on warriorworld1.com, under the Kickstarter button, there's a little thing that says "Message Deborah," and that actually comes to me. And if you want to write, don't pitch me anything. Universal will get mad at me. But if you want to write, I try to respond to those, and I'm here.
Well, thank you also to everybody who's joined us tonight. Go message Deborah, join the Kickstarter if you feel inspired.
The Kickstarter, cool stuff. I got cool stuff, but read the book. That's going to be the most stuff. Probably I think January is when the printer will send it back.
Exciting times.
Thanks. Yeah, it is
and
exciting.
I'm looking forward to seeing it becoming all the other things as well, becoming a virtual world that we can all hang out in and have a good time.
Yes, I agree 100%. Live like your hair's on fire. You're looking for a solution to put it out. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
You bet. Thank you, Deborah, and thanks to all our listeners. We'll be back again soon, and yeah, go out there, create cool and inspiring stuff, and join the Kickstarter. Don't forget that. We'll see you all soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.